second half of the conference now, so just to kind of give you an idea of timings, we'll have the panel discussion with some really excellent panellists from around the country and from Wales, and that will go through to about 4 p.m. And then 4 o'clock we'll have Graham speaking, and then we'll have our special guest speaker, Joan Smith, who we're very lucky to have here today, and then we'll have questions through till 5 p.m. Without further ado, we'll start the second panel, and I'd like to introduce Nick and Wendy, who will talk about their experience of setting up Republic Wales and campaigning during the Jubilee, as well as their plan for the future.
Thank you. I should say, first of all, that Wales has not yet declared UDI, we're still part. But more about that in the moment, in actual fact. Hello, I'm Nick Wall, I'm the chair of Republic Wales. We're in Iaith, which is Republic in Welsh. I'll be speaking with Wendy. We're going to do a bit of a double act. I'm going to start by just giving you some local context, in other words, the Welsh context. Then Wendy's going to talk to you about the stuff which we've actually been doing, the successes we've had. It's very appropriate because most of it's down to her in actual fact, but that's the way we're going to do it. And then I'll just come back and I'll talk about our plans very, very briefly for the next 12 months. So I'll crack on and start with the context. I was really, really pleased that Graham asked us to do this slot. My background in a kind of voluntary way is with the Labour Party, an organisation, and I think it's really, really important that any national message is interpreted in a local context, because I don't think it sticks otherwise. So I think what we've learned in Republic Wales, if we didn't already know it, is you've got to have that underlying national message, but you've got to interpret it in a way that the local audience understands. So hence using the right language, for example, okay? Okay, the first thing, just to get your sympathy as much as anything else and get some warmth from you as an audience, not only do we have to suffer a head of state, of course, we get to suffer a deputy head of state as well in Prince Charles, and he is, of course, a man who's as far removed from Welsh culture as could possibly be. And it's certainly the case. You won't get many people in Wales getting a 12% rise this year, I can assure you. So, the fact is, Wales is a nation that's had some great orators in its time, but actually every time a man opens his mouth, it is a potential new recruit for us, okay? So we must use that to our advantage. I should say in fairness, sorry, I'm going off script already, Graham, sorry. I should say in fairness that is an off-camera description of Nicholas Witchell, some of you remember, was uncannily accurate, but there we go. Okay, so Wales should be a fertile ground for republicanism, and increasingly it is. But one of the barriers we have is, whilst we want, and all of us in Wales Republic want a Republic UK, it can get very, very easily confused with another totally legitimate political aim, which is Welsh nationalism. And indeed, the media in Wales are very intent on linking the two issues. Now, in fact, Wendy and I are on different sides of the argument on this particular one, but we're both united that we have to have a republic in Great Britain, Northern Ireland. So that is, in actual fact, quite an important thing for us to get over and make sure that the media attention we get does not link the two issues, because they are very, very separate issues. So, whilst that is a big challenge for us, it's not all bad news. There are some really great opportunities in Wales that we can exploit. So we do have a strong national TV and radio network, and Wendy will talk to you about some of the stuff we've been doing, broadcasting 2 languages, and again, we've got lots of people who can speak Welsh and cover that part off as well. We've got a national newspaper, and importantly, we've got a national assembly, which is law-making. So, for example, we can use this really as a focal point for our campaigning. So, as an example, at the moment, a commission set up by the UK government called the Silk Commission is looking at the powers, extending the powers of the Assembly in Wales, and also how the Assembly works in general. So it's important for us to get in there and make a representation and say, we are not prepared to have our lawmaking process in Wales vetoed in the way that Charles has done in the UK. And we need to make those points. So it's a great advantage for us to have that Welsh Assembly and that very, very strong Welsh media. And lastly, of course, what we have got in Republic of Wales is a very, very enthusiastic group of supporters. So on that note, I'm going to hand you over to Wendy, who will tell you what we've been up to.
quite a few years and not done very much about it, paying my annual subs. But at the occasion of the royal wedding last year, 3 of us, Suzanne Campbell, who a lot of you will know here, Liz Morgan was not with us today, but again, a lot of you will know, got together and we put on a farce, an anti-royal farce at around the time of the wedding. And we put it on the Women's Millennium Centre in Cardiff, and we had such a terrific response from the audience that we came away and we thought, we've got to do something about this, we've got to capitalise on it. So we decided that somehow or another we were going to set up a branch in Cardiff, Republic of Wales. Well, we fiddled around trying to find a venue and a pub and a leisure centre. And in one of our meetings, we met Nick, who very successfully worked, and he managed to get us a free room in a central location in Cardiff through Unite. So we now have a monthly meeting in Cardiff, first Wednesday of every month, in the Unite Transport House building in Cardiff. We started off, as I said, with 3 people. On my mailing list now, I've got in excess of 60, and that is since October of last year. So I think, that just shows what you can do once you start talking, once you start having leaflets, once you start admitting that you're Republican. So that was really when we got kicked off. We kicked out, was October of last year, just in time really to get our act in order to greet the Queen when she came to Llandaff Cathedral in April. We put on a demonstration. We had a large banner made, which was personalised for Cardiff, because we, as Nick said, use of the Welsh language is important, and I'll come back to that again, as Welsh, so I might be a bit biased. We were actually amazed, and the police were amazed, at the very low turnout of the monarchy supporters there. At times, they were only 2 or 3 deep along the route. There were gaps in the route. They'd made up the deficit by press-ganged school children waving their banners. So they booed us. They were very impolite. The police were charming to us and apologised, and we thought we had a very successful demonstration. I think we started off with about 12 of our members. We ended up with twice that number. Yes. So that's it. Then in May, we decided that we would have a stall in Sprott Market. Now, Sprott Market is your average, street market, I suppose, isn't it? So we had a stall there. We have tremendous support. We have recruited useful people, like students who are going to help us in students' unions. And again, as I say, the only thing, the lesson that we learned there was that we didn't actually have application forms with us to get them signed up. They're on our mailing list. Some of them turn up to the meetings and some of them don't. Then a few of us, not as many as we would have liked, came to London to the Jubilee. And this personalised banner that I told you about, Gweriniaeth, nid Brenhiniaeth, is democracy, not monarchy. I folded up and put in my bag. And unfortunately, I was one of the people who was not allowed into City Hall. Just as well, really, because this banner in my bag proved to be very, very useful. Because when I turned around and saw other Republic placards outside, we were able to whip it out, and that was a really good rallying point for the rest of the crowd out there. So we're very pleased about that. We also managed to get a lot of media coverage then from Welsh television, Welsh radio, and that featured quite prominently. You'll see that what we had from, here it is, there we are. I think some of those are some in London and some in Llandaff, is it? This is the front page of our local Cardiff newspaper, who very kindly as positive as that, I'm not sure. But we do have some active people in Cardiff. I don't know whether any of you have seen at the demonstration in London our member Sean Featherstone's newspaper. I've got 3 copies to give to lucky people. It's very funny. And I'm interested to hear about the BBC Watch. James Pickering was not here today. He's a very valuable member of ours who has worked tirelessly on our link on the website. He has been keeping an eye on the royalty broadcasts in Wales on the BBC, and we'll forward that to you, Graham, when we get back to Cardiff. Now then, I'm aware that I'm talking all about Cardiff at the moment. Wales is a small country, but it's very scattered. So we are aware that we must get people active in North Wales, West Wales, and so on and so forth. And we've got really good news. Suzanne's sister at the Jubilee Bank Holiday put a notice in her shop window and said, "I'm not closing on Tuesday, business as usual, to hell with this nonsense." And as a result of that, she has recruited how many? 20 people? 20 people to Republic, and they've started a new group in to announce the start of Adran Gweriniaeth, you'll remember, Welsh lesson, Gweriniaeth means Republic, in Carmarthen Rugby Republic branch. I put 3 people in touch with each other, and they've decided that they're going to start a branch there and be active in Carmarthen as well. So I think the message is, put people in contact with each other, and sparks will fly, as they say. And what I said earlier about encouraging MPs and so on to speak their mind, I think we should always speak our minds too. I go to a daytime class on ancient history. I'm not bragging, but I am bragging now. In a class of 10, I've recruited 3 others, plus the tutor. The website, our own website, not having Welsh input. We've now recruited all those people who complained to do the translations for us. I think I'll now hand you back to Nick. That's what we've been doing so far. We've got plans for the future, which Nick will tell you about.
Thank you, brilliant, Wendy. It's really good stuff. It's quite exciting. It's amazing how much you can get with such limited resources getting done. I just wanted to cover off very quickly our priorities for 2012-13. So next week we have our branch meeting and we'll start to look at the priorities. I'm a firm believer that it's better to do 2, 3, 4 things exceptionally well rather than trying to do everything and basically dismally fail on everything. So we'll limit ourselves to a set number of very, very specific objectives. But I'd be most surprised if they weren't around these. Recruitment, I feel we should be quite bullish. Doubling our membership should be absolutely minimum we aim for in a year. And to increase the participation of those members we've already got is really, really important. Structure, Wendy mentioned there the Southwest, or whether it's Carmarthen branch, whatever it might be called. We'll certainly have one in North Wales, I would have thought, by the end of the year. And that brings us our constitution into question, because at the moment we are constituted as Republic Wales, and what we're effectively going to is Republic Wales as a sort of umbrella, and then branches sitting below that. And we'll have to think that through with Graham and the board and talk about that, because it is important that all the branches, we have the same messages, as I say, translated locally, but core messages have to be the same. So structure is really important for us. Education, Suzanne's already got mentioned, quite deservedly so. She does fantastic stuff in schools and making sure that next generation don't get 100% brainwashed and they do get to hear the other side. It's really important. But what's high on our agenda this September is in South Wales we will hit every Freshers' Fair. We'll have a stall, and that is vital, because those guys they've got more energy than me for a kick-off, but the point is you know, a lot of them are up for it, and we should take advantage, all in one place. Let's sign as many up as we can. And lastly, high-profile events. I mentioned the National Assembly. I think it's really important that we do make more of that, but also we want to move to public meetings and so on. Okay, so we've come a long way, I think, in a short time. I think the model that Republic of Wales is using is working well. And of course, you've got any questions, but if you want to contact either myself or Wendy at any time, we're very happy to engage and answer your questions. Okay, thanks so much indeed.